Hi, everybody, and welcome to Queer Talk. Queer Talk is a podcast by Fighting Fear. Fighting Fear is a community for queer people by queer people. You can find out more about us on our website, www.fightingfear.co.uk, or our social media handles, Fighting Fear Community on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Today, we have three very special guests that Fighting Fear has been supporting for past year, and it's a pleasure to have all three of you together. It's an honor to have worked with you and learn about your journeys and support in whatever way that we have been able to also be able to call you comrades in our struggles. But I will let you introduce yourselves.
My name is Josephine, an asylum seeker in Kenya, originally from Uganda, a lesbian and a human rights defender.
Hello everyone, my name is Benon Gilbert. I'm a Ugandan, seeking asylum in Kenya currently. I'm an LGBT rights activist.
Thank you, Sakib, for hosting me. My name is Gilbert Kakuma. A human rights defender focusing on LGBTQ issues, and I've been living in Kenya for the last 4 years.
Thank you very much. So the three of you are all from Uganda. You fled Uganda under a context. If Gilbert, you could perhaps give us the context in which you
Yes. As we've said that we are human rights defenders focusing on the LGBTQ issues. We're also part of the LGBT community back in Uganda and also now in Kenya. As you probably heard in the news, Uganda has been working on a law to prohibit consensual same-sex relationships. And they have twice enacted the law to this effect. But the last time they did it was last year, around March. The law has firmly stood and is being used to kind of persecute our community. The thing is that before the law came into existence, the community has been kind of, dispensing this type of law in a mob style, where the mob decides whether you should be part of the community or not. And for most LGBTQ persons, the community has always, expelled them. And if you're not expelled, some have been unfortunate to lose their life in those kinds of struggles. So this is the background against which we come to seek asylum in Kenya.
And I guess we think about Uganda as an East African country. I guess there's an East African context as well.
Mm.
Could one of you shed light on that?
East Africa is one huge area in terms of culture, in terms of religious practices, laws. There's a lot of similarities within the region, and the laws that have been enacted in Uganda and the drama about it has had an effect also this side in Kenya and in the other region, in the other countries within the region, like Congo and Tanzania. So the region itself behaves in a similar fashion. But Kenya, out of the region, has always insisted that they can offer asylum to the LGBTQ. That's why we chose it as our destination. But in terms of culture, yes, it is the same.
So you mentioned Congo, you mentioned Tanzania, you mentioned Kenya. What are the similarities in terms of LGBTQI plus rhetoric?
The law that was enacted, passed, and the bill that was enacted into law last year in Uganda had some sort of a cascading effect. Congo had been without a law to that effect of sexuality and a lot of things, but this year they have also presented a bill in Parliament. There has been an ongoing bill that is being discussed here in Kenya regarding the homosexuality. They already have anti-homosexuality laws in place, but because of the effect in Uganda, you see, Uganda passed a law that has a maximum sentence of death. they can easily put one to death for consensual same-sex relationship. But even so, you can see that it has rubbed on Kenya. They feel that the law that sentences 1 to 21 years in prison is not enough, and they are trying to make that even more stronger. It's what I'm saying, that there is this sort of ripple effect that goes on from one part of this region to the other. And the law in Uganda was one of those situations that has turned a bad situation into worse.
So the three of you fled from Uganda and came into Kenya. Now, I understand you didn't know each other when you came here. How did you meet, and under what circumstances did you meet?
Of course, basing on what we went through as a group, basing on like each of us, of course, we met in the camp. Like me, myself, I was the first before them to arrive in the camp. But I found other members of the LGBTQ community. There were struggles. Everything was hard for an LGBTQ to survive. Be it with the authority, the community itself, their treatment when it comes to LGBTQ. Like it was something very open that people used to show it to you that you're not worth, right? Even the authorities used to tell us that we are not supposed to be here in Kenya. Like it is wrong.
Despite the fact that Kenya is offering asylum to queer people.
Yeah, they promise you that. But when it comes like to reality, they show it to you that you're here by mistake. So with everything that we used to go through, we had to stand because we realized that we are not going to get help from them as they promised. So we had to find means of surviving in the community. Right? And it was by force because we had no choice where to go. You don't have even resources maybe to decide to go to another country. First of all, if you enter, it is very hard for you to go out. It's really, really, really hard for you to go out. So we had to just find means of surviving. How? We had to advocate for ourselves because like they failed to advocate for us or to provide security as they promised. We had to find means of coming up with something so that we can feel safe, make awareness to the world, right? So that we survive, we find means of at least some rights, which of course it's not yet there. But we had to find means of making awareness, and that is when we came up as people, as a group, to find ideas of how we are going to do this, how we are going to advocate for ourselves.
And you mentioned, Josephine, that the authorities were against you, but also the community. So when you say the community, do you mean the queer community or do you mean the other asylum seekers?
The other asylum seekers. Because like for them, they say it straight in your face. Because to them, they feel it's weird, it's not normal, you're not human. Like every sort of thing, the discrimination, it is just something open.
So you've gone from being in a dangerous place in your countries to coming to a safe place where the safe place isn't safe, not only because of the authorities, but also from other refugees and asylum seekers who ran away because of a lack of safety.
Yes, yes. And they attack you openly in daylight, you know, and at least if the authorities were really concerned, they would do something about it. But it was like something normal. It's as if like someone is trying to help you on a problem, like trying to help you to solve a problem for you. That is what it looked like to me. That is how I can explain it. Because if the people who are supposed to provide security, they don't care if I'm attacked, it means this person is using this one to solve that problem. And I am the problem. So that is how it used to be, like attacking us on a daily basis. And nothing is done, no arrests. It was really, really hard.
I can imagine as an asylum seeker in this environment, you would want to hide yourself in any capacity. Physically hiding yourself, but also trying to hide your queerness in some cases. Yeah? Where possible, of course. Benon, I know we've talked about this in terms of how difficult it is to hide your sexuality when you're from Uganda. If you can explain that, like how was that a thing in the camp?
Thank you so much, Saki, once again. Hiding your identity is really hard because discrimination starts right from the officials, then goes down to the community. When you come here, definitely you're welcomed. You go to the official in the office. Of course, you talk to the official, where you're coming from, your identity. The first word, before you're being registered, he's just telling you, okay, look, why are you gay? Okay, you can't do that. You're a man. You're entitled to have a woman and make a family. Okay? We don't want you here, but the rules are telling me to register you. Okay? So I'm going to register you, but you're not going to stay in Nairobi. You're definitely going to come. So the Refugee Affairs Secretariat, of course, they are going to register you, and then they forward you to the UNHCR. So the UNHCR definitely relocates you from Nairobi. If you get a chance of being registered in Nairobi, you're relocated to Kakuma refugee camp. Reaching there is a place we call a reception. It's where you're being kept for some few days. Actually, they can even keep you there for a full year if they know your status. So it's not really a safe place that when you're there, it's okay, everything is going to be okay. So again, you just have to fight hard to be registered, to be forwarded to the community. So discrimination starts right away from the offices of the officials, then to the community. So you're only recognized once they get to know that you're Ugandan. Once they know that you're Ugandan, definitely you're a shock.
What is it about being Ugandan and the queer community?
Once they know that you're from Uganda, they just definitely know that you're a gay man or a shoga. That's the term they normally call us.
Shoga.
Yes, shoga. It's a Swahili word. That's how they term us there. So, right away, as I said, right from the officials, once they get to know that you're Ugandan, the officials, you're definitely labeled as a gay. They don't care. So, it's really hard. Actually, she was the first in the camp. I was with him in the reception. So again, getting up the reception, it was really a tug of war. Again, we had to, demand our rights to have the proper documentation, again, to go to the community. So, reaching in the community, definitely, we had to choose to stay around us, however much there are other queer refugees within the camp. I think it was a kind of a strategy after knowing that, when you go to the community, definitely you face the attacks. So before going out, we talked to ourselves first. Say, look, we are queer people. If we are going out, we shouldn't allow the UNHCR to, split us into different, blocks in the camp. So we chose to stay as a group. But again, once they came to know that that group they are Ugandans and they are staying together, so attacks started. On a daily basis. They don't fear. No. Someone can even come in front of the camera and say, we are not afraid of you. We are not afraid of the police. We don't accept your identity here. We don't want shogas here. Our fellow refugees. So that's how Kakuma is.
And if I understood correctly, you can't even hide your Ugandanness.
Once they get to know that you're Ugandan.
No, because even if they don't know you're a Ugandan, they can find out, if I understood correctly, right? They can pick up from your accent.
Yeah, I think we have a different accent from
Because I noticed this here over the week that people recognize that you're from Uganda from the way you speak Swahili.
Yeah, definitely yes. And you know, the thing is, would have been safe there, but again, it's the officials promoting that right away. Because if I'm in your office and I say, look, I'm a gay man, definitely you're going to tell your partner in the office. So the partner is having a friend within the community. Okay, so the moment you're just moving around,
so the information is just
yes, the information is already thrown into the community. So that's how the situation is. Yeah.
So how did the three of you decide to work together? Was it circumstantial? Was it a choice? Was it that you were just thrown in together and you had no choice? Gilbert, if you want to shed some light on that.
I think circumstantial, yes. When there's a time back in 2020 when we were faced with a severe death threat as a community, right? We were in the various parts of the camp. But because of this threat, we tried to seek protection from units here, and this did not work. In fact, UNHCR used the police to take us back to the camp. But this time, they did not take us to where we had come from, as we can seek protection from the UNHCR office. They just put us in one area of the camp. You know, amidst guns and heavy police presence, tear gas canisters. So, in this place where they put us, we had to survive. First of all, we didn't have anything really. We had lost a lot of property as we were being chased by the police, you know, and also as we ran from the community to the UNHCR office. So we needed to survive as a community. We needed to organize, you know. We also had a lot of injuries because of the attacks that were going on. We needed to have people taken for medical. I remember one of the activists that died through the Asylum attack. He went to the nearest hospital that was near the area, and once they realized he was gay, the diagnosis was madness. He had a simple problem. There was an attempt to ban him earlier, but because they realized he was gay, they gave a diagnosis that he's mad. So that was the kind of attitude that we encountered in those hospitals. So we needed to generate resources where we take our people to private clinics that did not have this kind of information and treated us like everybody else. But also to survive, we have children in our midst, we had women, they have special needs. So we needed funds, we needed advocacy. Now that the Kenyan government and the UNHCR had decided they were not going to protect us officially by taking us back to a very hostile area, there was need now to reach out to other entities outside the camp to be able to get some help. So in mating, yes, it was circumstantial, but to make a group that would, advocate and organize our community to be safer in the circumstances, that was a choice.
And how has it been to work together, the three of you?
It's been fantastic for me. As part of the systemic persecution, these organizations have the resources and have the privileges to be able to influence how some of the members in our community behave, internet some people, and use them to break down the communities from within. That has been challenging.
How so? What would they do?
I'll just give you an example. When we had arrived on that place, which is called Block 13, after a while, there was a group. He was a very close friend of mine. It was a personal friend. But they approached him and offered him, they called it a refugee status determination interview, based on which they give you refugee status and recognize you now as a member of the Ugandan community. So he was promised that. And he was told for as many as he could take away from the community where we were, they would all be given, refugee status determination. He admitted to me personally, face to face, I had been given about $140, as his facilitation. And he did. You see, this is a resource that is meant to be for everybody, but was being used now to break the community. But besides these resources, they have a lot of influence. people want to appease the person that could take them out of that place. They want to appease the person that can give them supper the next day. So it's very easy for the community to be broken once you have resources coming in and they are conditioned. You get it?
There's an exploitation of your vulnerabilities.
The refugee camp is a difficult place as a keep, with without these challenges. So when you have a vulnerable community within a bigger vulnerable community, using resources to influence their decision or what they do is very, very easy.
Is this something that happened to the three of you? Did you also receive, it sounds like bribes, did you also receive these bribes?
No, actually, now for me the case is like they used intimidations, right? So like me myself, I got a call. We had a certain petition we were pushing, and we said, let's do the signatures so that, we push for it. Ask as a group that we need evacuation from the place where we are. So we signed, meaning that we are all together in this. We are asking it as a group. They gave me a call. Oh, are you one of the people who signed this? I said, yes, because this is what I want. They told me, we advise you just drop out of it if you really need help, because this is not going to work. You came on an individual basis, so that's what they used. That your process is yours, not for the group. So just be out, and then you will get help. That is what they used. But I'm telling you, till today, even some people decided to run away because nothing changed. No matter how hard we tried to ask for safety, nothing changed, and people had to go even in more dangerous countries just to look for help.
So they were going away from Kenya into a more dangerous country to seek that.
Because if people can attack you in a country which is not theirs, how about in theirs? They can even kill you and no one will follow. So what does this mean? It means that we don't even think of getting help from here.
And what kind of places are they going to? You said more dangerous places, so...
Sudan.
Well, where there's currently a war taking place.
Like Sudan, everyone knows that. It is a very, very hostile country. Now, an LGBTQ person living in Kenya to go to Sudan, it means there is something missing. I'm telling you. It is really devastating. People are tired. You've stayed for years. You've begged for help, and it is not provided. Then you leave the country, which you thought is somehow people may understand you, and then you go to a more even dangerous place.
Just desperation.
But no one is even talking about it. It is really devastating.
Just to add something, of course we have two Sudans. We have Southern Sudan, and then we have the original Sudan. Most of the colleagues who could not take the asylum system here that is broken, they went to Southern Sudan, and that is the most dangerous Sudan of all. The asylum system here for the LGBTQ is not functional, to be frank with you. I'm going to state that, but it's not functional. The agencies deliberately refuse to offer services, whether it is fulfilling the registration or assessing our refugee status here. They deliberately. I know people personally that have been denied that refugee status examination interview based on language. It's unheard of. It's embarrassing. It's unthinkable, just because of the language. And they have translators on their payroll, but they tell you we cannot interview you because you don't speak our language. So it shows you how broken down the system, asylum system for LGBTQ persons is. It's a scam. It's a sham. It's not real. It's not true. I think it is something the Kenyan government is using probably to get some funding or something, but it's nothing to do with the LGBTQ asylum seekers.
So the systemic persecution taking place in the Kakuma camp, you've become politicized, you've formed a group, you're now actively asking for help from outside. As a collective, how do you cope with what's happening on a day-to-day basis in the camp to your people, to your community? How do you support each other?
We try very much to put out the information out there. A colleague has been attacked in the camp. We put that out there. We give them support in terms of creating awareness. But we have also been reaching out to several institutions, asking for help, asking them to take a deeper look at the situation in the camp. In some cases, it has not worked, as most institutions will simply go and talk to UNHCR, and at which point UNHCR says, no, it's okay, and then they go away. But some have reached down on the ground. For example, Amnesty International, they went to Kakuma as a result of this advocacy to investigate for themselves, and they came up to the report and confirmed that these attacks were actually happening. Contrary to the reports from UNHCR that said everything was, well and under control, but Amnesty went to the ground, spoke to the actual victims, and came up with a report. This is as a result of the advocacy that we have done. And we continue to reach out to organizations, but a lot of them do not want confrontation or would not want to step on toes as they claim it. But also it doesn't really align with their interests, to kind of confront UNHCR about the situations. So they sacrifice the refugees that are in danger to be able to maintain relations. But in terms of support, yes, we are there for each other. If it's possible, if there's need for medical help, we can do that. We look for that. If there's need for hiding, it's not just us that ended up in hiding. There were a lot others that have ended up in hiding. And this was following the call by the Parliament of Kenya, to silence what they called LGBTQ agenda. This is systemic persecution at its best. It's not disguised or it's not covered, it's just that, plainly blatant. And we're saying, silence the voices there. We don't want this sort of agenda, LGBTQ agenda in our camps. And we're asking the camp authorities and their allies to make sure this is stopped. And this sent a lot of panic waves within our community, and a number of them went into hiding. Some went to Sudan, others went into hiding within the country. But we have been able to create a support mechanism to make sure that whoever is in hiding has access to the basics, because you won't get anything from this government or UNHCR. So we've created our support mechanisms to make sure that even those that have run away from the camp like the rest of us are not neglected. They keep alive until freedom at some point comes in, and we can only live freedom.
And are these people you're in contact with? I mean, I know you're not living at the moment anywhere near each other. So how do you support each other, the three of you?
It's through, of course, keeping contacts and checking on each other. To take you a little back, we too were the first to go into hiding. And with Gilbert, because Gilbert is still that spokesperson of the whole group, but they were hunting him, reaching an extent of even using the people within that family to tell us where he is. So he had to hide in every way. You understand? So when he successfully left the camp, they made arrests to people within, just to bringing fear within us. Remember, you cannot leave the country, right? And then they put those fears, putting conditions that, when you leave the camp, you will not get any help, food, medical, you understand? So they put those fears on you so that you keep low, you keep in the same place while quiet, right? You rather die than say something. Me, myself, they told me that when you go there, because I reported that I've left the camp because of this and this, you know, they told me, you are supposed to be in the camp. If you in Nairobi, that is your problem. You will be arrested because you don't have proper documents to accept you be in the urban. They will arrest you. If they arrest you, you're on your own. So if you're not persistent enough, it brings fear in you. And so what should I do? Let me stay here and lose my life. But it's only that we were determined. We were determined. A lot was going on. Losing lives. Me, I almost lost my life in the camp. The fires, the attacks, the poisoning. I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to find means of surviving. So those fears, if you're not determined enough, you can just give up and keep quiet and die.
So just focusing on your experience, Josephine, but not just yours, I guess queer women. Generally, one can assume from all the literature and the information out there about asylum seekers and refugee camps that they're not safe for anyone, but let alone women, but let alone queer women. What was it like to be a woman in this camp, a queer woman?
Very hard. Very hard, because like with the African culture, women are looked at a very different, you know. So when they hear of lesbians, weird to them. Weird, you're supposed to be married and things of the kind, those things they say. So it was really hard, like very hard for us lesbian women. Like in community, they look at you, feel disgusted. You understand? Because even just getting water, you see people like everyone moves out as if you're like that, right? And then when it comes to mothers,
so these are lesbian mothers.
Yes,
in the camp.
lesbian. It is really heartbreaking, I'm telling you, because their children, what they used to go through was hell. I'm telling you, being beaten because your mom is a lesbian, being discriminated. You understand, that trauma haunting them all the time, you know, like pointing at them all the time, like they were not free at all. And then when it comes to women, like we have needs as women, like special needs as women, when it medical, and then the basic needs, which are not even provided in the camps, right? Hospitals, because like you used to go to the hospital, but because they know you're coming from this community, everyone tends to like avoid you. They look at you as someone disgusting.
So these are the doctors, the hospital staff?
Yes.
The nurses?
We faced those things like, and we did it because we did not have special hospitals. That these are hospitals for LGBTQ, because having those institutions, it helps us that people do understand us. But we used to go to the common hospitals. You see doctors are avoiding you, look at you like you're disgusting. It was really tormenting, I'm telling you.
And I know you all three have families.
Yeah.
And I imagine you haven't seen them for a very long time.
Yeah, me, I'm a mother. But I've spent 9 years without seeing my children. Of course, the reason is back from home, because forcefully they took them away from me because of course, yeah. Yeah.
Benon, coming to you. You've been in hiding for several years now. I know you have personally become ill several times. I can only imagine that a large contributor of that is because you're in hiding and not being able to get sufficient health care. Probably also because related to you being queer, if they find out, they perhaps don't give you as much treatment or as optimum treatment as they would. But how has it been for you as a gay man in hiding, but just generally being in hiding for so long?
It's been really quite hard for me. It's closing to 4 years, staying in the house. So, it's really hard to explain the life I'm living in because, one, I have no access to any service outside, like the healthcare service, I love, schooling. I have no access to education. And the immunity, is just getting low and low and low and low. So it's so difficult for a person, to live in the area whereby the only movements you can do is just go to your toilet, kitchen, sitting room, bedroom. For a full year, 2 years, 3 years. It's really quite a difficult life. So I
imagine there's also fear of going outside.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah? Especially during the day.
Yes.
So you don't get sunlight.
I don't. So I think...
and I guess this goes for all three of you. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just take you back when I'm talking about, a gay life, one time I went to the police. By then I was in the car. I went to report my case as a gay man. So I sat on the table where you report cases. So as I was talking to a policeman, so it was like, "Oh, where are you coming from, young man?" So I told him, "I'm from Uganda." Oh. He was like, "Do you have a pen?" I was like, "No, I don't have a pen." So the neighbor, a colleague had a pen. So the officer gave me a pen. I wrote my name because he was struggling to write my name. So I wrote my name. So writing my name, returning the pen back to the officer, he told me, "No, please, I've given it to you. I can't touch it. We here, we don't allow gays here. Does your president Museveni allow homosexuality there?" I said, "No." He said, "We neither. And if I happen to find you on the way, I'll gun you down." So that's the authority responsible for protection. Many arrests were made in the camp to the police. We have there's a police station, it's based in the Kakuma town. But many arrests were, made in the queer community. But do you know that gay men were sometimes put out and told to do it in public? Men were put buttons behind their asses. So the discrimination it is coming right from the...
This is abuse, this is rape.
Yes, so the discrimination is coming right from the top officials, the agencies responsible to protect. So what do you expect when it's the authorities doing that? So do you expect the community to do that? Definitely, because they are seeing is from the top. So they're entitled. So that's how life is for a gay man, actually for any queer person in Kakuma camp. So with the hiding, it's really hard. I can't explain that. I'm always getting ill every time. Because my immune system, I think, is getting lower and lower and lower. So it's really tough.
I can imagine thinking the future is very difficult for all three of you. Probably feeling that there is no end to this, there is no hope, and feeling very helpless. If there was something, and I guess this is to all three of you, if you could ask for those listening, if they could do something to support your cause and then help you achieve your goal of freedom, what would that be?
I personally, I want to have a safe place where I can have my freedom back, where I can move freely.
How could someone watching help you do that?
Activate. I hope people can raise more awareness. I don't know where this will reach, but I would love people to understand what exactly we are going through. Advocate for us. Because, we are not hoping for any help from here. I don't think it will even happen. A place where you cannot even find means to reach people who are responsible to listen to you. It has been years for me, but I've never even had a chance of anyone calling me because they have my information. I don't know whether they still have it, but to check on me, to know what is my story. No one is even concerned about it. They don't even care. They don't know whether I'm still alive or not. So I would love for those people who can help to push these voices, to reach out to those who can really help. Yeah.
Thank you. Ben?
To be honest, I have no idea because I don't see a future ahead of me. I see only dark ahead of me. So whoever out there who can, add on my voice or our voices to call whoever responsible to get our freedom back. Please whenever you're watching from, I'm just requesting if you have that hand, kindly stretch it to who can give support so that I can have my freedom back and see whether I can still rediscover my future. But I don't see a future ahead of me.
Thank you, Sakib. Just like I said earlier in the interview, Amnesty International, the Kenyan chapter, they put out a report from their investigations in the farm. So my call to anybody listening or watching is kindly, if you can, join us in demanding accountability. Because if you read UNHCR reports, they will accuse the refugees, they will accuse the victims, they will try to paint a very different picture. But we need to demand for accountability from them. We need to ask them if, for example, a donor would donate to UNHCR. Kindly urge them to have more understanding of what they're funding, because the truth of the matter is that this is not translating to help. By putting pressure on these institutions, by demanding more accountability based on what we have seen, for example, published by Amnesty and the others that have reached the ground, we can push for a change so that even if I am safe at the end of the day, that the next person who comes following my footsteps, because Uganda is not going to accept homosexuality soon. In fact, the region where Muslim is not going to accept homosexuality soon. So that they too do not have to go through what we're going through. Let's demand for accountability now. Let's create the change together. In our concerted efforts, we have a lot of power. Let's exercise it.
Thank you very much for your stories, for your journeys, and sharing that with us. This has been one of the most emotive interviews I've done to date, and I hope it can lead to something helpful and fruitful for you. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you for listening.
So this is Queer Talk. Queer Talk is a podcast by Fighting Fear. Fighting Fear is a community for queer people by queer people. You can find out more about us on our website, www.fightingfear.co.uk, and on our social media accounts, Fighting Fear Community on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Once again, thank you so much.